The chamber was silent as Daniel Pierce stood before the Galactic Council. His hands were steady, but his heart pounded against his ribs. 400 alien species had gathered here, and every single one of them was staring at him. The decision had already been made. He could see it in their eyes and in the way they held themselves. Humanity was done. High Arbiter Zexthor rose from his seat. His crystalline body caught the light and scattered it across the walls. He was old and powerful and completely convinced he was right. His voice echoed through the chamber when he spoke. You have 60 standard cycles to withdraw all human presence from council space. Your colonies and your stations and your ships, everything must go. Daniel kept his face blank, even though anger burned in his chest. We have been model citizens for 3 decades. We followed every regulation. We contributed to your defense and your science and your culture. We did everything you asked of us. A counselor named Vainrix leaned forward. Her 6 eyes blinked one after another like shutters closing. Your species is fundamentally incompatible with peaceful coexistence. The incident at Station Meridian proved this beyond any doubt. The incident? Daniel almost laughed at how they called it that. 3 human security officers had stopped an assault on a Delphinian merchant. The attackers were members of the Krell Syndicate, and they were dangerous and connected. The security officers had responded with force. The attackers did not survive. The council chose to ignore everything except the violence. They did not care about context or justice or the fact that the merchant would be dead without human intervention. Captain Lisa Hayes stood beside Daniel. She commanded the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Sentinel, and she had served with council forces for 15 years. Her jaw was clenched so tight Daniel thought her teeth might crack. She had fought beside these people and bled beside them, and now they were casting her aside like garbage. Daniel took a breath and let it out slowly. We warned you. When we first made contact and you asked us about our history and our nature, we told you the truth. We told you what happens when humanity is cornered. We told you what we become when we are pushed too far. Zexthor's crystalline form pulsed with light. It was the equivalent of a dismissive laugh. Empty threats from a primitive species. We have survived for 10,000 years. We will endure long after humanity retreats to its small corner of space. Daniel looked at Lisa and saw his own thoughts reflected in her eyes. The council had no idea what they were doing. They had lived in peace for so long they had forgotten what real danger looked like. They thought humanity was the threat. They were wrong. Humanity had been peaceful by choice, not by nature. That was a distinction the council did not understand and would not understand until it was too late. Very well. Daniel's voice was quiet, but it carried through the perfect acoustics of the chamber. We will begin the withdrawal immediately, but remember this moment. Remember that we tried to warn you. Remember that what comes next is your choice, not ours. The council dismissed them with a wave. Daniel and Lisa walked out of the chamber and down the long corridor beyond. Neither of them spoke until they were back on the shuttle. Then Lisa slammed her fist against the wall hard enough to dent the metal. 15 years. I gave them 15 years of my life. I fought for them and I bled for them, and this is how they repay us. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder. They made their choice. Now we make ours. We go home and we prepare and we wait, because they will need us again. Maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but eventually something will happen that they cannot handle. And when it does, they will remember that they sent us away. Over the next few weeks, human ships began their exodus from council space. It was organized and efficient because humans were good at logistics. Colonies that had been established over decades were packed up and abandoned. Research stations were shut down and sealed. Trade routes that had connected human space to the wider galaxy were dissolved. Lieutenant Jake Morrison oversaw the evacuation of Research Station Alpha 7. He had worked there for 5 years alongside scientists from a dozen different species. On the last day, his friend Court approached him. Court was Delphinian, and his translator turned his clicking sounds into human words. This is wrong. You do not deserve this. Jake looked around the empty station. Equipment was gone, and the labs were dark, and everything he had worked for was being erased. Maybe not, but the council has spoken. We are going home. Court's fins drooped. What will you do now? Jake looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. We will survive. We always do. The question is, what will you do when you need us again? Court did not have an answer for that. Back on Earth, President Helen Carver addressed the planet. She stood in the Oval Office with her silver hair pulled back and her face calm. The speech was broadcast to every screen on the planet and to the millions of humans returning from space. We return home not in shame, but with dignity. The galaxy has chosen to stand without us. We will respect that choice. But we will also prepare. We will strengthen ourselves. And if they come to regret their decision, they will find humanity ready for whatever comes next. The response from Earth's population was mixed. Some people were angry and wanted revenge. Others were relieved to be coming home. Most were just confused about why the Council would throw away 3 decades of partnership over a single incident. But all of them trusted Helen Carver, and if she said they would prepare, then they would prepare. Admiral Frank Cooper watched the last human ship cross back into Sol system from the bridge of the Defender. He was 60 years old with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He had spent his entire adult life in space watching humanity grow from a single system species to a galactic presence. Now they were retreating back to where they started. All vessels accounted for Sir. His first officer, Commander Amy Price, was young and sharp, and she looked as angry as he felt. Set condition yellow throughout the fleet. Establish patrol routes around Sol system. Nothing gets in or out without our knowledge. Amy turned to look at him. You think they will come after us? Frank shook his head. No, but I think they will need us eventually. And when they do, we will be ready. In the meantime, we watch and we listen and we prepare, because the galaxy just made a very big mistake and we are going to be there when they realize it. The withdrawal was complete. Humanity stood alone once more. But they were not defeated. They were not broken. They were patient and they were watching and they were ready. The Council had forced them to leave. They had warned the Council what that meant. Now everyone would see the consequences. 18 months passed and the galaxy began to change in ways the Council had not expected. Trade routes that relied on human shipping companies struggled to maintain their schedules. Human freighters had been fast and efficient and reliable. The companies that replaced them were none of those things. Goods that once arrived on time now faced delays of weeks or even months. Businesses that depended on those goods began to fail. On the industrial world of Cavix Prime, a factory owner named Grelmoth watched his production line slow to a crawl. Human engineers had designed the efficiency upgrades that made his operation profitable. Now those engineers were gone and the technology was failing without proper maintenance. He watched another machine grind to a halt with sparks flying from its overtaxed mechanisms. Can we contact Earth for technical support? His administrator looked uncomfortable. Forbidden by Council decree. All contact with humanity is prohibited. Grelmoth watched his profit margins disappear. He was not alone. Across the galaxy, thousands of businesses faced the same problem. The humans had woven themselves into the economic fabric more thoroughly than anyone realized. In council chambers, the economic reports grew increasingly dire. A representative named Lynn Zara from the Merchant Guild presented the latest figures to High Arbiter Zexthor. Her translucent wings drooped with stress. Trade efficiency has decreased by 37% since the human departure. 17 major shipping companies have declared bankruptcy. The human trade network handled more volume than we realized. Zexthor's crystalline form pulsed with dismissive light. Then other species will expand to fill the gap. The galaxy does not need humanity, but the problems went beyond economics. On the frontier world of Telex 4, a security chief named Branthor faced a surge in piracy. Human security contractors had patrolled these regions for years. Their reputation for effectiveness kept criminals cautious. With the humans gone, the pirates grew bold. We have lost 3 freighters this month. The pirates know we do not have the resources to stop them. His superior told him to request Council Defense Force assistance, but the defense force was stretched thin and getting thinner. Human officers and specialists had made up 12% of the force. It seemed like a small number until those positions sat empty. Tactical officers who understood combat, instructors who could train others, strategic planners who thought 3 steps ahead. The humans had occupied roles that required expertise and experience. Without them, the defense force struggled. Commander Heverix found himself trying to run a training exercise that had been routine when humans were present. Human instructors had brought with them centuries of warfare experience from Earth's history. They understood calm. Bat in ways most council species did not. Species that had been peaceful for millennia had forgotten how to fight. The formations are wrong. Lieutenant Morrison would have caught this immediately. But Jake Morrison, was back in Sol system and asking for his help was impossible. In the science community, a researcher named Dr. Velix struggled with a quantum research project that had been collaborative with human scientists. The humans approached problems differently. Their short lifespans made them think in rapid intuitive leaps that complemented the methodical approach of longer-lived species. We are making no progress. The human perspective was more valuable than we acknowledged. On Earth, President Carver received regular intelligence reports about the situation in Council space. Director of Intelligence Carl Bennett laid out the latest information in the White House Situation Room. Economic disruption continues to accelerate. Piracy is up 45% in frontier regions. The Defense Force is experiencing operational difficulties. And there are rumors of something else. Helen leaned forward. What rumors? Disappearances. Ships going missing in the outer territories. More than usual. Helen sat back and steepled her fingers. The Council made their choice. We respect their sovereignty, but keep monitoring. If something is happening out there, I want to know about it. Admiral Cooper expanded humanity's sensor network. Long-range monitoring stations were established at the edge of Sol system. They listened to everything. Every distress call and every report and every whisper from the galaxy beyond. We hear everything. We do not respond, not yet. But we listen. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez spent his shifts monitoring communications from Council space. He was a sensor specialist and he was good at his job. He heard the confusion in alien transmissions. He heard the growing concern. He heard the first notes of fear beginning to creep into their voices. They are starting to realize. His colleague, Lieutenant Kate Morrison, looked up from her station. She was Jake's younger sister. Realize what? That maybe they needed us more than they thought. The silence from humanity was deafening. For 3 decades, Earth had been a constant presence. Humanity's voice in Council debates. Human ships on every trade route. Human specialists in every field. Now there was only absence. That absence was louder than any words. And in that absence, something else was stirring. In the dark spaces between stars. In the territories at the edge of Council space, something ancient and hungry was beginning to wake. The first world to fall was a mining colony on the frontier. 3,000 inhabitants lived there. When rescue ships arrived, they found nothing but empty buildings and dark streets. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Just silence. The Council tried to keep it quiet, but word spread quickly. Fear spreads faster than truth. More disappearances followed. A research station vanished. A passenger liner with 2,000 people aboard disappeared without a trace. An entire orbital city went dark. When ships arrived to investigate, they found the same thing. Empty structures. No survivors. No evidence of what happened. The Council's Security Division tried to investigate, but they had no answers. The disappearances were systematic. They followed a pattern. Whatever was doing this was intelligent and organized and very, very dangerous. Still, the Council's pride would not let them reach out to humanity. Not yet. They told themselves they could handle it. They told themselves it was just pirates or raiders or some natural phenomenon. They told themselves anything except the truth. That they were facing something beyond their ability to stop. On a Council patrol vessel in the outer territories, Captain Nevrix received a distress call. It came from a civilian transport. The message was broken and filled with static. Under attack. Unknown hostiles. They are not. The transmission cut off in screams. Nevrix ordered maximum speed toward the source. His ship arrived 3 hours later. The transport was there, but it was dead in space. No power, no life signs. He sent a boarding team across. What they found made veterans who had served for decades struggle to maintain composure. The crew was gone. Every single person. But their belongings were still there. Meals half-eaten. Workstations still active, as if everyone had simply vanished in the middle of their daily routine. The boarding team found claw marks on the walls. Deep gouges in metal that should have been impossible to damage. And in one corridor they found a message scratched into a wall panel. They came from the dark. They took everyone. Run, Nevrix reported his findings to headquarters. The report was classified immediately. The Council did not want panic. But panic was coming whether they wanted it or not. Because the disappearances were accelerating. 1 incident became 2. 2 became 5. 5 became 10. Whatever was out there was growing bolder. Admiral Cooper read the intelligence reports and felt a cold weight in his stomach. This is not random. This is an invasion. They are testing council defenses, learning their capabilities, preparing for something bigger. President Carver studied the same reports. How long until they reach core council worlds? 6 months, maybe less. And when they do, the casualties will be in the billions. Have they asked for our help? No. Pride will not let them. But their communications are increasingly desperate. They are losing ground and they know it. Helen closed her eyes and thought about the billions of innocent people who would die if the council waited too long. She thought about the oath she had taken to protect humanity's interests. But she also thought about what was right. We warned them. We told them what humans are, what we are capable of, why we have worked so hard to be peaceful. They rejected that warning, so we do nothing. No, we prepare. Admiral Cooper's fleet stands ready. We monitor every communication, and we wait for them to ask. Because when they do ask, we will be there. But they have to ask first. They have to admit they need us. Otherwise, we are just invaders ourselves. The council debates continued. The disappearances continued. The fear continued. And still they did not ask. Pride is a powerful thing. Sometimes it is more powerful than survival. The galaxy was about to learn just how expensive pride could be. The distress call came from the edge of council space from a system called Veros. Captain Emma Clark was monitoring long-range communications from Earth Station 1 when she intercepted it. The automated systems would have filtered it out, but she caught it first. Admiral, you need to hear this. The signal was broken and filled with static and terror. This is Veros Station, under attack. Unknown hostiles. They are not. Dear gods, they are inside the station, they are. The transmission ended in screams that made Emma's blood run cold. Admiral Cooper listened to it 3 times without speaking. How many on Veros Station? According to our old records, approximately 15,000 civilians and 2,000 military personnel. And the council response. Emma checked the intercepts. The nearest Defense Force fleet is 6 days away. They are redirecting, but it will be too late. Cooper's jaw tightened. These are the disappearances Bennett mentioned. Yes, sir. This is the 14th incident in 3 months. But this is the first time we have intercepted a live distress call. Cooper stood at the viewport looking out at Earth below. Humanity had been expelled, forbidden from council space. The council had made it clear that humanity was not wanted and not needed and not welcome. But 15,000 people were dying right now while he stood here listening. Get me President Carver, and prep the rapid response fleet, just in case. In the White House, President Carver listened to the recording with her cabinet assembled around the Situation Room table. Secretary of Defense Paul Grant and Secretary of State Linda Walsh and Director Bennett all waited for her decision. International law is clear. We were expelled from council space. Any military action without authorization would be considered an act of war. Paul leaned forward, assuming the council survives to declare war. Helen, whatever is attacking them, it is systematic, coordinated. This is not pirates or raiders. This is an invasion. Have they asked for our help? No, pride will not let them. But their communications are increasingly desperate. They are losing ground and they know it. Helen closed her eyes and thought about the 15,000 souls on Veros Station. She thought about the oath she had taken to protect humanity's interests. But she also thought about the greater principle at stake. We warned them. We told them what humans are and what we are capable of, and why we have worked so hard to be peaceful. They rejected that warning, so we do nothing. No, we prepare. Admiral Cooper's fleet stands ready at the border of Sol system. We monitor every communication, and we wait for them to ask. And if they do not ask before it is too late, then the galaxy will learn a hard lesson about consequences. In council chambers, the debate had reached a fever pitch. High Arbiter Zexthor faced a chamber full of angry representatives, who were all demanding answers and all terrified. 16 worlds have gone dark. 63 ships destroyed or missing. Over 50,000 dead or vanished. And still you refuse to acknowledge the obvious solution. We will not beg humanity for help. Zexthor's crystalline form glowed with stubborn pride. We have survived for 10,000 years without them, against internal threats, against pirates and criminals. This is different. These attackers are like nothing we have faced in millennia. A counselor named Linsera's wings flared with agitation. They are like... She trailed off, not wanting to say it. They are like humans. An elder counselor named Brennath finished her sentence. That is what you were going to say. They fight with human intensity, human ruthlessness, human effectiveness. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew it was true. Our defense force is in retreat. Our worlds are falling. Our people are dying, and why? Because we expelled the one species that understood warfare. The one species that never forgot how to fight. Brenath accessed a holographic display showing the expanding zone of attacks. At current rates, the attacks will reach Core Council worlds within 6 months. Core Worlds Arbiter. Populations in the billions. The display shifted to show casualty projections. The numbers were staggering. Millions dead. Billions at risk. We need humanity. Brenath said it simply. We need their experience. Their knowledge. Their warriors. We need them, and we need them now. Never. Zexthor's voice was absolute. I will not be the arbiter who crawled to those violent primitives for salvation. Then you will be the arbiter who presided over the Council's extinction. Choose. At the border of Sol System. Admiral Cooper's fleet waited. 300 ships with more assembling every day. The entire Earth Defense Fleet mobilized and ready. Captain Lisa Hayes commanded the heavy cruiser Valiant now. She stood on her bridge watching the long-range sensors. They could see the chaos in Council space. They could see the patterns of attack and retreat. They are being herded. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Chris Palmer, studied the display. Look at the attack pattern. They are driving Council forces away from fortified positions, isolating them, destroying them piecemeal. Classic tactics. Lisa agreed. Whoever these attackers are, they know what they are doing. Ma'am, we could break through and reinforce Vero Station. We are only 3 days out at maximum burn. Lisa glanced at her orders displayed on the command screen. Hold position. Await authorization. Do not engage. We have our orders. We wait. While people die. While the Council decides if their pride is worth more than their survival. Lisa's voice was hard. We offered them partnership. They chose expulsion. Now they live with that choice. But she kept her fleet at combat readiness. Engines hot. Weapons charged. When the call came, if it came, they would be ready to move. On Vero Station, the survivors huddled in sealed sections listening to the sounds of the attackers moving through the corridors. Security Chief Dranath had lost most of his forces in the initial assault. They are hunting us systematically. Room by room, section by section. I have never seen anything like it. Station Director Valex asked the only question that mattered. How long until the Defense Force arrives? 4 days. Maybe 5. They both knew they did not have that long. The attackers were methodical and patient and unstoppable. Every hour another section fell. Every hour more people disappeared into the darkness. In the sealed command center, Communications Officer Tevix monitored all frequencies hoping for a miracle. And then through the static he heard something, a human frequency. Old protocols from before the expulsion. Director, I am picking up. It is a human signal. Very faint. Just outside the system. Valex and Dranath rushed to his station. Are they here? No, it is automated. A monitoring beacon. They are watching. Valex stared at the signal indicator. Humanity was out there, listening to their distress, watching them die, and doing nothing because the Council had forbidden them from doing anything else. Pride, Valex realized, was a luxury they could no longer afford. Open a channel. Directed at that beacon. Maximum power. Sir, the Council forbids. The Council is not here dying with us. Open the channel. Tevix complied. Valex took a breath and began to speak. This is Director Valex of Vero Station to any human forces in range. We are under attack. 15,000 civilians are trapped. We are requesting. He stopped. The word caught in his throat. Then he said it. We are requesting assistance, please, if you can hear us. Help us. The transmission traveled through space at light speed, reaching the human monitoring beacon in minutes. On Earth Station 1, Captain Emma Clark heard the plea and immediately forwarded it to Admiral Cooper. Cooper listened to the desperation in Valex's voice. He heard the sounds of weapons fire and screams in the background. Then he opened a secure channel to the White House. Madam President, we have a formal request for assistance from Vero Station. They are asking for help. Helen looked at her cabinet. She saw vindication and concern mixed together on their faces. One station asking, not the Council. What is your assessment, Admiral? If we move now, we can save most of them. If we wait for Council approval, they will all be dead. Helen made her decision. Authorization granted. Get our people there, Admiral. Bring them home safe. Cooper allowed himself a small smile. Yes, Madam President.
Fleet, this is Admiral Cooper.
All ships maximum burn for Vero system. We have people to save. The Earth Defense Fleet surged forward, crossing into Council space for the first time in 18 months. Humanity was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Valiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Vero system, followed by 30 other warships. Captain Lisa Hayes immediately went to combat status. Tactical, what do we have? Lieutenant Chris Palmer worked his sensors rapidly. Vero station is still there, but barely. Reading multiple hull breaches. Life support failing in several sections. I am detecting at least 40 hostile vessels in close proximity. 40? Lisa kept her voice steady. What type? Unknown configuration. They are using our ships against us. Those are captured Council vessels modified and turned into weapons. Lisa understood immediately. The attackers were not just destroying Council forces. They were using them, taking their technology and their ships and their weapons and making themselves stronger with each victory. Communications, raise Vero Station. Let them know help has arrived. On Vero Station, Director Valix heard the incoming transmission and felt tears of relief stream down his face. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here to get you out. Stand by for extraction, Captain Hayes. Valix's voice shook. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Save your thanks. We are not out of this yet. How many survivors? Approximately 8,000 in the sealed sections. The rest are... Valix could not finish the sentence. Understood, we will get those 8,000. Stand by. Lisa switched to Fleet Command. Admiral Cooper Station has 8,000 survivors in sealed sections. Station integrity is critical. Recommend immediate assault on hostile forces followed by rapid extraction. Cooper's voice came back steady and calm. Agreed. Alpha Wing, clear the perimeter. Beta Wing, provide cover for transport ships. Gamma Wing, you are with me. We are going after the hostiles' command ship. The human fleet split into 3 groups, moving with practiced precision. The attackers, caught off guard by the sudden arrival, scrambled to respond. In the Valiant's Combat Information Center, Lieutenant Chris Palmer watched the enemy vessels turn toward them. Hostiles are engaging. They are fast. Really fast. Then we will be faster. Lisa's voice was steel. All batteries free fire. Show them what happens when you threaten the innocent. The Valiant's weapons blazed to life. Railguns and missile batteries unleashed devastating firepower. The first hostile vessel shattered under the onslaught. Then the second. Then the third. The attackers had never faced anything like human military doctrine. Council species had forgotten how to truly fight. Their tactics were rigid and predictable. Humans had never stopped studying warfare. Every battle in human history informed their tactics now. Commander Steve Barrett led Alpha Wing in his destroyer Relentless. He wove through the hostile formation with practice skill. Break their formation. Do not let them coordinate. Weapons free. His pilots responded with aggressive precision. Their smaller ships darted between the larger hostile vessels, targeting engines and weapon systems, creating chaos in the enemy ranks. On the bridge of his flagship Defender, Admiral Cooper watched the battle unfold. They are good, he admitted, watching how the attackers adapted. But they are not us. Gamma Wing, follow me in. We are taking out their command ship. The hostile command ship was larger than the others, a massive converted Council battleship bristling with weapons. It hung back from the fighting, coordinating the other vessels. That is their vulnerability. Cooper pointed at the tactical display. They rely on central coordination. Cut off the head and the body dies. All ships concentrated fire on target Alpha. 10 human warships focused their combined firepower on a single target. The hostile command ship's shields flared, held for a moment, then collapsed. Hull breaches erupted across its surface. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure. Target Alpha is breaking apart, Commander Amy Price reported. Hostile forces are losing cohesion. She was right. Without their command ship, the hostile vessels began fighting independently. Making mistakes, becoming predictable, all ships pressed the advantage. Cooper ordered, clear the field. While the warships fought, transport vessels moved toward Vero Station. Captain Ryan Foster piloted his transport, the Sanctuary, directly to the station's main docking port. Docking clamps engaged, his co-pilot Lieutenant Megan Torres reported, extending boarding tunnels, ready to receive survivors. On the station, Security Chief Dranath organized the evacuation. Move quickly but stay calm. children and injured first. Do not rush. The humans will not leave without us. The survivors flooded into the human transport ships. 8,000 frightened people finding safety in the arms of the species the Council had expelled. Many of them wept with relief. Many of them apologized for what had been done to humanity. Ryan Foster walked among them offering water and blankets. "You are safe now," he told them over and over. "We have got you." Within 2 hours, all 8,000 survivors were aboard human ships and Vero Station was empty. The battle in space had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Of the 40 hostile vessels, 32 had been destroyed, and the remaining 8 were fleeing at maximum speed. "Let them go," Admiral Cooper ordered. "They will carry the message back to whoever sent them." "What message, sir?" Amy asked. "That humanity is back, and we do not abandon people in need." The fleet regrouped with damaged ships moving to the center for protection. The survivors were distributed among vessels with medical facilities. Captain Lisa Hayes surveyed her ship, noting the damage from multiple impacts, but pleased that her crew had performed flawlessly. "Set course for the nearest Council outpost," Cooper ordered. "We need to return these survivors and open communications with the Council." "Sir, what if the Council tries to arrest us for violating their expulsion order?" Amy asked. Cooper smiled grimly. "Then we will have a conversation about what matters more, laws or lives." The fleet began its journey deeper into Council space, and as they traveled, word of the rescue spread. Human communications channels exploded with celebration. Citizens who had been evacuated 18 months ago watched news feeds showing the fleet's actions. They felt pride that their military had acted when others would not. On Earth, President Carver addressed the planet once more. "Today our fleet responded to a distress call from Vero Station. They saved 8,000 lives. The Council expelled us for being too violent and too dangerous. But when danger came and when innocent people needed help, humanity answered. We did not ask permission. We did not wait for authorization. We did what was right, and we would do it again." The speech was broadcast throughout Council space. Millions of aliens watched and heard Carver's words. Many of them who had supported the expulsion began to question their choice. In Council chambers, High Arbiter Zexthor watched the same broadcast. His crystalline form dimmed with suppressed fury. "They violated our borders. They engaged in military action without authorization. This is an act of war. They saved 8,000 of our people." Councillor Brenath countered quietly. 8,000 souls who would be dead or worse if they had respected our borders. "Tell me, Arbiter, which is the greater crime?" The chamber erupted in argument, but Brenath's words resonated. The Council was fracturing, split between those clinging to pride and those recognizing reality. The human fleet arrived at Council Outpost Delta 9. Defense Force Commander Hevrix met them with a mixed fleet of 20 Council ships. "Human vessels, this is Commander Hevrix. You are in violation of Council law. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." Admiral Cooper opened a channel. His voice was calm but carried undeniable steel. "Commander, we have 8,000 survivors from Vero Station aboard our vessels. They require medical attention and processing. We will gladly transfer them to your care. As for standing down, I am afraid I must decline. We came when called. We saved who we could, and we are not about to apologize for it." Hevrix found himself in an impossible position. His orders were clear. Detain the humans. But his conscience was equally clear. They had done what his forces could not. "Admiral Cooper." Hevrix made his choice. "Please transfer the survivors to our medical vessels. And then if you would, I would like to request a meeting. There are things we need to discuss." "Things the Council needs to hear." "Agreed," Cooper replied. "Let us talk." As the survivors transferred to Council medical ships, many of them paused to thank their human rescuers. Director Valix personally sought out Captain Lisa Hayes. "You came when no one else would. I will never forget that." "None of us will. We came because it was right," Lisa replied. "That is what we tried to tell you all along. We are not monsters. We are not primitives. We are just people who remember what it means to fight for something that matters." Valix bowed deeply. "Then on behalf of everyone you saved, I apologize for the Council's blindness, and I promise you we will make this right." 3 days after the Vero Station rescue, long-range sensors detected them, a fleet of unprecedented size emerging from the dark space beyond the galactic rim. 3,000 vessels, all configured for war, all heading directly for Council space. The Scourge, they called themselves. An ancient machine civilization that had been dormant for millennia, awakened by the expansion of organic life into territories they once claimed. They had been probing Council defenses for months, testing and learning. Now they were coming in force. Admiral Cooper stood in the command center on Earth Station 1 staring at the sensor data. 3,000 ships. Even if every Council vessel responded, they would be outnumbered 3-1. And the Council fleets are not designed for sustained combat, Captain Emma Clark added. They will be slaughtered. Director Bennett entered the command center, moving quickly to Cooper's side. The President wants your assessment. Cooper gestured at the display. This is an extinction-level threat, not just for the Council. If the Scourge win, they will keep expanding. Eventually, they will reach Sol System. This is not about helping the Council anymore. This is about survival. Within the hour, President Carver convened an emergency session of the United Earth Congress. Representatives from every nation gathered virtually. The threat is existential. Helen explained, her voice steady despite the gravity. The Scourge will not stop with the Council. They will continue until all organic life in the galaxy is erased. We have a choice. We can wait for them to come to us after they have destroyed everyone else, or we can stand now, while we still have allies. Allies who expelled us. A representative named James Chen countered. Why should we risk human lives for those who rejected us? Because it is the right thing to do, Representative Maria Santos replied. And because the enemy of our enemy is our ally, whether the Council wants to admit it or not. The debate raged for hours, but in the end the vote was decisive. Humanity would mobilize its entire fleet and offer assistance to the Council, not because the Council deserved it, but because the survival of organic life itself was at stake. Helen addressed the Council directly via long-range transmission. High Arbiter Zexthor, members of the Galactic Council, I speak for all of humanity. We are aware of the Scourge threat. We are mobilizing our entire defensive fleet to assist in the coming battle. We do this not because we seek your approval or your gratitude. We do this because survival requires unity, and unity requires setting aside past grievances. The choice is yours. Accept our help and live, or refuse it and die alone. In Council chambers, the transmission played on every screen. The representatives fell silent. All eyes turned to High Arbiter Zexthor. His crystalline form pulsed with conflicting emotions, pride warring with survival instinct. Counselor Brennath stepped forward. Arbiter, I formally move to overturn the expulsion order and request full military alliance with humanity. All in favor. The vote was overwhelming. Only Zexthor himself abstained. The motion carries, Brennath declared. Humanity is hereby invited to return to Council space with full military authorization. May whatever gods exist forgive us for expelling them in the first place. Zexthor's form dimmed to near transparency. He had lost, but he was wise enough to know when to surrender gracefully. Very well. Let it be recorded that humanity returns not as subjects but as partners, and may they prove worthy of the faith we now place in them. The message went out immediately. Humanity was welcome. The expulsion was ended, and the combined forces of the Council and Earth would stand together against the Scourge. Admiral Cooper received the authorization and immediately began coordinating with Council Defense Force Command. Commander Hevrix, who had defied orders to work with the humans after Vero Station, was appointed liaison. Our intelligence suggests the Scourge will strike at the Valdor system first. Hevrix explained, displaying the tactical situation. It is a major population center, 5 billion inhabitants. If it falls, the psychological impact will be devastating. Then we do not let it fall. Cooper replied. How long until they arrive? 6 days. Then we have 6 days to prepare the defense. Call in every ship you have. We will do the same. And Commander, tell your captains to forget everything they learned in the Academy. This will not be a civilized engagement. This will be total war. Over the following days, the largest military fleet in galactic history assembled at Valdor. 800 Council vessels joined with 400 human warships. Orbital defense platforms were reinforced. Ground-based missile batteries armed. Evacuation procedures prepared for the civilian population. Captain Lisa Hayes briefed her crew on the Valiant. This is it, everything we have trained for. Everything humanity has learned in 10,000 years of warfare. We are going to teach these machines what happens when they threaten organic life. Similar speeches occurred on every ship, human and alien alike. Veterans who had served together before the expulsion found themselves reunited. New friendships formed between species who had never worked together. In the face of extinction, old grievances seemed petty and small. On the 6th day, the Scourge arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 3,000 ships arranged in a grid pattern that spoke of machine precision. No hesitation, no communication, just cold calculated aggression. All ships battle stations, Admiral Cooper ordered from the Defender. Remember the plan. Human vessels form the center line. Council ships take the flanks. Defense platforms provide long-range support. Do not let them break our formation. The Scourge fleet advanced, their weapons charging. Then as one they opened fire. The Battle of Valdor became legend. For 14 hours, the combined fleet fought with desperate determination. The Scourge ships were powerful. Their weapons devastating, their tactics efficient, but they had never faced anything like the combined might of Council technology and human tactical doctrine. Captain Ryan, Foster commanding the Sanctuary now retrofitted for combat, led a squadron of smaller vessels in hit-and-run attacks. They adapt to our tactics too fast. He reported, "We need to keep changing our approach, then change every 5 minutes." Lisa Hayes replied, her Valiant engaging 3 Scourge vessels simultaneously. "Do not let them predict us." Admiral Cooper implemented a rotating strategy, different groups of ships using different tactics in sequence, never letting the Scourge adapt to any single approach. It was exhausting and demanding and required perfect coordination. It was also working. Commander Heverix, fighting alongside the humans for the first time, watched in awe as human ships executed maneuvers he had never seen before. Aggressive turns that should have torn the vessels apart. Weapons fire patterns that seemed random but created deadly crossfire zones. Tactics born from centuries of human warfare now applied on an interstellar scale. "They are magnificent," he said to his tactical officer. "We were fools to expel them, but the Scourge were learning too." As the battle progressed, they adapted, their ships beginning to anticipate human tactics, beginning to counter Council weapons. The casualty count rose on both sides. "Admiral, we are losing ships," Commander Amy Price reported grimly. "Current rate of attrition, we will be overwhelmed in 6 hours." Cooper studied the tactical display, looking for the key. The weakness, the opening that would turn the tide. Then he saw it. The Scourge ships are not independent. Look at the formation. They are networked, probably through those larger vessels in the center. Command ships. Lisa Hayes added from the Valiant. "Like before, exactly like before. If we take out their network nodes, we disrupt their coordination." Cooper opened fleet-wide communications. All ships' new objective: target the large vessels in the center of their formation. Ignore everything else. Concentrated fire. We are taking down their network. It was a desperate gamble. To reach the center, the fleet would have to punch through the entire Scourge formation, taking heavy losses, but staying in the current engagement meant slow defeat. "All ships with me," Cooper ordered. "Maximum thrust. We are going right through them." The combined fleet surged forward as one, 800 ships forming a wedge with the Defender at the tip. The Scourge responded by concentrating fire on the formation's center. Ships died. The Council cruiser Harmony exploded, taking 300 souls with it. The human destroyer Relentless was crippled, but the formation held, driving deeper into the Scourge fleet. "Target in range," Amy Price reported. "All weapons locked." "Fire," Cooper ordered simply. Every ship in the fleet fired simultaneously, thousands of weapons converging on a single target. The Scourge command vessel's shields held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. The ship shattered, its network systems failing. Across the battlefield, Scourge vessels suddenly lost coordination. Their perfect formations broke apart. Their tactical responses became sluggish and disconnected. "Hit the other command ships," Cooper ordered. Now, while they are vulnerable, the fleet spread out, targeting the remaining network nodes. One by one, the Scourge command vessels fell, and as they fell, the tide of battle turned decisively. 6 hours after it began, the Battle of Valdor ended. The Scourge fleet broke off and retreated, leaving 800 of their vessels destroyed. The combined fleet had lost 200 ships, with many more damaged. But Valdor stood. 5 billion people survived, and the galaxy learned that united organic life could stand against even the greatest threats.